Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Woman's Cave. I want to be like Woman's Cave podcast, but that's incorrect because it's the End I Thought podcast, which is, I should say the End I Thought cave then. But then I feel like it'll be a thoughtful cave. And then once it becomes a thoughtful cave, that's where you write. And I don't want to do my podcast where I write. Give me a moment. I'm going to think about this. Okay, moment's over. Yeah, it's the Woman's Cave. Moving on with life. I'm well known. Oh my God, I remember to introduce myself. Pat on my back. What? Oh, double pat. Because, as a narcissist, you get 2 times the patting and a little on the head. There you go. Boop, boop. Okay. There were things I was going to say that was not about my own, wonderfulness. Let's see if I can remember them. I wrote books. That's what it was. Oh, dang. I said it wasn't going to be about my wonderfulness. And I said I wrote books. Actually, it's we wrote books because normally there's a Jade, but there's no Jade today, which means I get to act silly. And the books are. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. Yeah, I never say that whole title. It feels weird when you say it. And I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse. Widow Webb's Widowed Debts. Eventually it'll be Widow's Tales, y'all. Very soon it'll be Widow's Tales. And then Foreign Coffee. Yeah, that's the last one. Woo! And this is one I wrote by myself. I should know what the last one is. It's my book. And those are 6 books we can catch wherever audiobooks are. And now, if you want to know about the extra 11 books, which means a whole grand total of, in sign language, 17 books, then you can go to www.andwethought.com. Why I'm signing today, I have no idea, but we do have a wonderful guest. So, wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself? I skipped half that intro. Go for it, though. Introduce yourself.
Well, hi there. I am Melanie Hatter. I am an author of 2 novels and 1 short story collection. I do not sign. It's one of those things that I've always said I would love to learn, and I've never done it yet, but there's still time. So who knows? I might one day. Let's see, what else about me? Yeah, my latest novel was Malawi Sisters, which came out in 2019. That was published through 4-Way Books, which is a very cool independent press in New York City. And it actually was a winner of the Cambilio National Fiction Prize, which was very cool because it was judged by Edwidge Danticat, who is phenomenal. Yeah, she is. Yeah, so I was pretty floored when my name came up as the winner that she had selected. So that was a really pretty awesome experience, I have to say. So yeah, and I can't believe it's been, what is that, 3 years now? Yeah,
wow,
crazy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! Like when you said that, yeah, it's been 3 years. Do you remember when life was normal?
I do, because that year, 2019, was probably one of the busiest years I ever had. And I was all over the country promoting the book. I was in Texas. I was in, I was going to say Seattle, but it wasn't. It was Portland. And yeah, and in New York. I mean, I was sort of all over the place. And it was such an amazing experience. And which is really, really cool. It had nothing to do with my writing at all, but I won tickets. Remember when Hamilton had their little phone app and they were giving away tickets? I won tickets and yeah, got to go and see Hamilton for like $20. It was pretty amazing. So it was a cool year, but yeah, it feels like such a long time ago.
You got to see Hamilton like on a stage and not like the rest of us on our TV screens.
Trust me, I've watched it on TV screen as well, but yeah, I actually got to see it live, and it was in Baltimore, and it was phenomenal. Yeah, Hamilton was played by a Black actor who was just tremendous. He was phenomenal, and I wish I could remember his name right now, but yeah, it was a great performance.
I'm not sure if I should be jealous, angry, or happy. I'm gonna go with happy because
yeah, maybe a little.
Oh, jealous because you had a career as a journalist. You know, when newspapers were like this big thing where you got paid real money to write.
Yes. When I would actually go into, and I was going to say an office, but newsroom and yeah, get assignments and go out onto the street. And yeah, now that is a lifetime away because that was sort of how I started my career. I went to Hampton University, go HBCU, and I graduated with a journalism degree and yeah, started out as a newspaper reporter. I did not want to go into broadcast television news. I wanted to stay sort of behind the scenes. I like being behind the scenes.
You have the face for it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, I'm an introvert at heart, so you know I like to sort of be in the background. But yeah, I remember those days. I covered cops in courts. I would go out to crime scenes and write about that. And yeah, it was pretty intense as I sort of remember back. But those were pretty fun days. It's not your typical 9 to 5 sitting in an office for sure. But we grow, and I was married and had a baby, and I ended up going into the corporate world and had a long career doing corporate communication. So
what's the difference
with journalism versus corporate communications? So essentially, as opposed to being a journalist who is writing about what's happening in the world and giving news to the people, working in corporate communications, you're really sort of the voice of that particular organization. And what I was doing was creating newsletters and press releases. So it's really promoting the organization as opposed to sort of general sort of worldwide stuff. But it was it was a living. It was a good gig for a little while. But the corporate world, it certainly has its place, but at the end of the day, you're making money for stakeholders. And I burned out from it after a while. Once you sort of start moving up the ranks a little bit, the pressure's on, and the hours are long. And yeah, I said, you know what, I need to go do something else. So I walked away from that. I spent a few years focused on writing, and I actually got my license as a massage therapist. So I spent a few years doing that and absolutely loved it. It was such a great balance between doing massage, which is more of that physical activity, and then being able to write. So it really was great. And yeah, I had a great time. But after a while of sort of being my own boss, the health insurance was a bit of an issue, and the cost of health insurance was just going up and up and up. And so I finally decided that I would go back into, the work world, but rather than go back to corporate, was still in that and being able to, write families. Organization I was with, it was the Homeless Project, which support families and homelessness, focuses on needs of the children. Very, very organization, and really got an opportunity to do some work. So I'm getting a little note here saying my connection is unstable. I hope it's still connected. Good.
Yeah, we're still connected. I got the end of that. So I was gonna go into the massage thing next, but I mean you already did it. So I have to ask about what was it like getting your master's degree at Johns Hopkins, a place known for producing doctors? You're getting a master's degree in a writing program. What was that like?
Yes. It's not as well known. Hopkins is known for their sort of medical advances, but they really have a very cool writing program as well. And while I was still in my sort of corporate world, I was able to get some support to get my master's degree. And I was working during the day, taking care of my son, and going to class in the evenings. So yeah, it was an intense few years. I think I did it in about 3 years. But yeah, so I was juggling a lot of things. And the reason I ended up going back to get my master's was primarily because I was writing, but I felt like I needed structure to kind of help me with my, writing. I had written this book, and which, was not great. And I wanted to be able to, make it better. And so, I went into the writing program at Hopkins, and it really helped me, get a better sense of what it is I was trying to do. And ultimately, after that, after I graduated, I spent another year finishing that novel that I had started, rewriting it basically. And yeah, and it ended up getting published, and that was my debut novel, which was The Color of My Soul. So yeah.
What's it like? How many novels have you written, and can you tell us a bit about them?
Yep. So just the two novels. The first one was The Color of My Soul, which really was, it started out as a sort of as a romance. I thought I, would just write this light romance. But when I finished it, that first draft, I realized that what I was really writing about, although there is a relationship there, it was really about the main character being biracial and how she was kind of dealing with the discovery. She had grown up with her mother and assumed that she was Black, and then later discovers that her father is white. And it's sort of her journey trying to figure out her place in the world and how that affects her. Like, it's that question of, well, who am I now? Like, am I still the same person, or, what does this mean for me? And it's really her journey. On top of that, she is a newspaper journalist. So I sort of took that from my own experience. But she's writing a story about the Native American culture. And I wanted to sort of bring in that other element of, what does it mean to be one thing versus another? What does it mean to be white versus Black versus Native American versus biracial? And so the book was really sort of a discovery of all of those things. So yeah, so that was my first novel. It won the Washington Writers Publishing House prize, and came out in 2011. So wow, which is forever ago. Makes me feel very old saying that,
doesn't it? Like, yeah, it's just like yesterday. Oh crap, that's like a decade.
You're right. It's like, wow. Okay, yeah, I guess I could be that old.
It means you've had a good run at a writing career. So what's your newest book?
So my latest one is Malawi Sisters, and that was actually inspired by the shooting death of Renisha McBride in 2013. And it was one of those, it was really during a period of time when there was a lot of headlines about Black people being killed, whether it was by the police or other. And this particular headline just kind of grabbed me, and I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. It was this young woman, I believe she was about 19. Her car had broken down. It was late at night, and she went to get help. She stopped at this house, and the guy shot her and killed her. And thankfully, he was convicted, and he is, I believe, still serving time for that. And so as I was thinking about it, I ended up creating a story around these two characters that I had been struggling to kind of find their story. These two sisters, and then this story sort of developed that they lost a sister in a similar situation. And the story really evolved to look at the entire family. And initially my thought was it would just be the sisters, but then the voice of the mother came in, and then the father. And so it was really looking at how the whole family deals with such a tragedy, and how they get sort of pulled into that national dialogue around race, and just, how do you deal with that? Because one of the things that I kept seeing, you would see all these headlines and then nothing, it would just sort of go away. And I kept thinking, but all of these people have families, right? I mean, all of these people, had friends and families and lives. And what do we know about these? And that's what really drove the story, was this idea that, it's not just a headline, that there is you know, a whole story behind each of those names, so that's where that story came from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This that's heartbreaking, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it was really, yeah, it's tough. And every time one of those headlines comes up, it's sort of, I just keep thinking, wow, like, it's still relevant. Like, what I was writing about wasn't something in the past, even though it was, sort of inspired by a past event. These events just keep happening and keep happening. And one day I hope that we get to a place where it's no longer a thing. I mean, we have to evolve as human beings to realize that this is not the way to continue in the world.
I also saw that you work with one of the places that I love hearing about. So I have to ask about, you work with Penn Faulkner as one of their authors for schools.
Yes. This is such a cool organization. The Penn Faulkner Foundation. So they have a program. It's called, Writers in Schools, and they support the writer. The schools get the opportunity to, decide, what book they want to read out of, I guess, a list of books that Penn Faulkner provides them. And then they, support the whole, bringing the author into the school. They provide the books to the school, to the class. And yeah, I've been doing this since, oh gosh, it must be at least since 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and just about every year I'll go in, at least have one visit, and just get a chance to chat with the kids and hear. It's actually really cool to have the class read your work and then have a conversation with them about it, and how they talk about the characters and how they affected them. And it really is, it's heartwarming to be able to do that, and just share, my journey as an author with young people. Some of them are really curious about it. Some of them are, not wanting to go down that path themselves, but being able to just sort of share my journey and give them ideas around what they can do with their lives, that they're not limited in any way. So it really is a very cool program that they have.
That sounds like an amazing program. And I think it's awesome that you get to have a young person's viewpoint of your writing, something I would kill for.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, and some of them, they've dropped some stuff on me, and I'm like, wow, okay, like, you really understood what I was writing here. And sometimes, they've sort of mentioned things that I'm like, I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, the insights they have is really incredible. And we really shouldn't underestimate the young people today.
I mean, they have a fresh take on the world with fresh eyes.
Absolutely.
We have eyes that have been trained to look for certain things in the world and to look after ourselves. So someone who has none of those responsibilities, being able to look at the world and tell you as a writer how, like, because our job is kind of like to interpret it for society, I think, as a writer.
Absolutely.
To take the mayhem and be like, this is what you see, and here's where the conscious part of your of society should be, and for them to be able to do it with fresh eyes, that's got to be amazing. That's got to be such an amazing.
They really are incredible.
So where can people find out more information about you and be able to write your book? I'm not write your books, read your books, not write them. Oh, good gracious, no.
Well, I'm a big proponent of independent bookstores, and bookshop.org is an online bookstore, which I'm sure you're well familiar with. And I love it because across the country, they support various independent bookstores. So you can definitely find my books on bookshop.org, and my own website, MelanieSHatter.com. You can visit there. I try to keep it up to date as much as I can, but sometimes I'm a little behind. But yeah, definitely visit there. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming to be with us today. We had a little difficulty in the beginning, but we made it work at the end. That's what's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you. It's been lovely.
So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And as you guys know, I don't do this often. Actually, it's getting more often than it used to be, but that's okay. I'm going to try to wrap it up like Jade would. So you can find out everything that your ladies are doing at www.andithoughladies.com. And while you're there, go down to the middle of the page and see the charities that we proudly support. We hope that you can take a little time out and give them some help, because you know these are difficult times for everyone. And we thank you in advance for that. Remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to, oh my goodness, finding it and accepting it. Almost forgot my tagline. Peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.